Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeCharis, CPA, coming to you live from downtown Flushing, New York, for another amazing episode of How to Win at Business. And tonight we are going to start talking about our Bedrock CFO services and why you might want to consider it. You know, over 20 years ago, I had this idea of creating the H&R Block of bookkeeping. And I grew up in the 60s and 70s watching Henry Block give the 10 reasons why you should use H&R Block. And that stuck with me. So I said, you know what? It worked for them. It's working for us. We are becoming a different kind of bookkeeping and accounting firm. Henry Block had a different way of doing things, and it worked. And our CFO service works. And I don't really go around, promoting myself, pushing. I'm not a salesman. I'm a CPA. And if you're watching live, give me a hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay, because it makes me feel really good. And they told me that it does something with the analytics and that stuff that I have no idea how it works. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know really how it works. That's why I have people to tell me, but there are a few things that I do know how they work, like bookkeeping, tax preparation, fixing mangled tax situations, and basically setting up new businesses. Those are our fortes. Those are the four things that we provide as a tax preparation company. And I've shared this over the last couple of years. I've had some, shocking insights into what is going on out there when it comes to, people trying to run a business and filing their taxes, something that pretty much everybody has to do. If you're an individual, you have to file a 1040. If you have, income, my mom doesn't have to file a return. She only gets Social Security right now. So if you have a business, you probably have to file a tax return. If you get a W-2, a 1099, you got to file a tax return. And as a CPA, for over 35 years, I worked with CPA firms, in CPA firms. I've done works primarily for existing corporations. And a couple of years ago, when I was doing some market research to find, my ideal customer, I came across this statistic of over 25 million sole proprietors. Out of 30 million businesses, 25 million are still sole proprietors. And, that was a turning point for me. That was a big turning point, because I said that is a lot of people, that a vast majority of them have a problem. And as I went into this market, I had the opportunity now to see a lot of other accountants work. Bad work. And, some of them were like borderline criminal, where I actually had to tell a couple of clients that they should go and find a criminal tax attorney, because they were high audit risks, and what they were doing was not kosher. And they both were doing it with the CPA, which I found unbelievable, that a CPA would tell a client like how to actually launder money, how to cash checks and pay their people off the books, like they were trying to help them. CPAs that filed sole proprietor tax returns with over $50,000 in losses every year for like 5 years. You can't get away with that. So what I believe I uncovered was a serious lack of qualified tax people out there. There's a lot of good ones, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of bad ones. And it dawned on me that, maybe it's a big miscommunication. There's a big communication gap as far as how do people know what a good accountant is? How would you know? A referral from somebody is a good indicator, but then there's all these other things that are going on that if you're not in the know, you won't know. You won't know that you got a ticking time bomb. And so this has led me to do some research, and I'm going to tell you what's involved here. If you're getting your tax returns done, what you need, number one, is you need to not do them yourself, because you might think that you're saving money, but you're not. It is way too complicated. Even a college student with just a W-2 and a tuition thing, because then you got to figure out, are you going to get the Hope credit, the American scholarship credit? I mean, it's mind-boggling how complicated it is. So now, who is a qualified tax professional? Well, CPAs. Not all CPAs, though. That's a misconception, because a lot of people think you got CPA on your mantle that you can do tax returns. No, there are plenty of CPAs that don't do tax returns, or only prepare tax returns and never did any tax resolution problems, and are not experienced in handling audits. So if you're getting audited, you don't want to go to a CPA that handles financial audits. You want to go to a CPA that handles tax audits. Enrolled agents are probably the most qualified, because all they do are taxes. They may not do bookkeeping and accounting, but they study. They have to take a hard test and pass it to practice before the IRS. And tax attorneys, my first job was with Harry English, a tax attorney in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and we did over 1,000 personal and business returns by hand. And I worked with them for 2 tax seasons. Not all attorneys are tax attorneys, though. Very few of them are tax attorneys. So those are the qualified tax professionals. What do I mean by qualified? Well, I'm going to tell you who qualifies them right now, if I can. Well, that's strange. Okay, learn more about Zoom, StreamYard, and all of this other technology. So I got to share a different screen now. Let's see if I can do this. So who determines who is qualified? Well, let me give you a guess. It starts with an I and it ends with an S. It's the IRS, the Treasury Department. They are who determines who they're going to work with. Okay. And over here, so I did a little bit of, so over here, they say who may practice. Now, you could look this up. You can get this for free. It's circular 230, and it specifically says who can practice before the IRS. Now, what does that mean, practice before the IRS? It means getting a power of attorney. It means preparing returns, submitting returns as an electronic return originator. Not everybody can do that. You have to be qualified. So who is qualified? Well, let's see. Who may practice? Attorneys. Any attorney who is not under, hopefully if you're not under suspension, you can do. Certified public accountants, enrolled agents, and enrolled actuaries. I actually didn't even know that actuaries could practice before the IRS, but that's another thing. So what else is interesting about this is you have the CPAs, the enrolled agents, and the tax attorneys. And then you have firms like H&R Block, R&G Brenner, all of these franchise firms, Liberty Tax Services. Now, they have in their organization people that are qualified tax professionals. So, I don't have an issue with H&R Block or any of those firms because they actually have procedures and they are qualified. The thing is that when you go to them, you're usually getting people preparing your returns that are not qualified. They only work there. They're actually processing your returns and they're asking you for information, and they have limited experience for the most part. I'm not saying, you can't put everybody into a basket and say they're all terrible. They are actually pretty good when it comes to preparing a safe, accurate tax return. They may not give you the best tax advice or help you minimize your taxes, which is the issue with that. But the thing that I just came across that is really, really mind-shaking to me is this. And I'm going to share this with you again. So you have the federal law. Anybody that wants to practice before the IRS, but then you have the state laws, which seem to conflict with the federal law. And we're going to cover this in another section, but the vast majority of states do not regulate tax preparers. You don't need any kind of license or anything. All you got to do is say, I prepare taxes. And honestly, I do not know how they get around the IRS regulations on who can practice. Okay. I have some ideas on how they get around it. They can do a TurboTax thing and say self-prepared. They can file paper returns, I guess, which will always get somebody in trouble. But it's kind of interesting that the states have a much, much lower standard than the IRS. And this explains a lot, folks. It explains a lot about the lack of quality preparers. The states where you must be licensed, and maybe this is why I feel like I had my head in the sand all of this time, because I'm in New York. We've always had to be licensed. Oh, this is New York. Connecticut, Illinois, Maryland. There's only a few states where you actually have to be licensed. We have been in business. I have been a CPA since 1988. I've been doing accounting for over 35 years. In New York State, I am required to take continuing education every year. More importantly, I need to make sure that I'm on top of my game for my clients. And that's reason number one why you might want to consider the Bedrock CFO services. Not because we're better than everybody in the world. We're very, very good at what we do. We work specifically with very small businesses, uh, very simple bookkeeping. It's not complicated. We like simple. If you have a complicated accounting situation, then you need, somebody that does that. It's all about, finding the right fit. But if you're doing your own tax returns, if you're doing your own tax return, or you're going to somebody that's not qualified, I will be praying for you. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Over and out. God bless. I will be back again tomorrow with another amazing episode. And Louis, I will be chatting with you very shortly. Thank you. Over and out.